Hey everybody, What's It Fox Gaming here. So today I wanted to have a quick look at the Chameleon. For those of you that have been following my channel for a while may remember that I did a video, I think it was TU10 or possibly even earlier, where they sort of shifted up the meta and the M1A got nerfed and AR's got a bit of a buff and the Chameleon received a buff as well. And I posted a build that I used for a legendary run, and in that run we did two runs. The first one I hit 2 billion damage and the second one was about 1.7 when we had some more DPS players on our team. And I really thought that it was going to be kind of the new top tier weapon for running legendary content. Since then it kind of came out that skill builds just a sort of easy way to get into legendary content, and particularly if you run a well optimized team with an artificer in there and all of your turrets and so on, you can absolutely breeze through legendaries in less than an hour, even on skill builds which traditionally were slower. So this never really took off in the way that I was hoping it to, the Chameleon as kind of like a main weapon. Now there's no doubt that there are quite a few of you out there that use this. I really enjoyed it when I used it. The one thing that I didn't like about it was its handling stats. Now you all know that I put a big focus on weapon handling. I'm a massive fan of it since they buffed it, and it just makes so many weapons really usable. And I find myself when making a build for this weapon once again relying on braced. This has become a new top tier talent for me. I did try lots of different talents with this one preparing for this video, and it was always the same thing. I just feel that this is almost SMG range for it to be strong. This is specifically for console, by the way. And it's not even so much its stability, it's more just the accuracy. It has horrendous bloom. So what I've done is I put together a build, once again using braced, that I think is the best way to run this weapon, more as a cover-based AR, because it does have pretty good range. It's not the best range in the game. Certainly weapons like the FAL have much better range and can perform really well, but the whole point of this weapon is to build up your buffs. So let's have a look at what the talent actually does, and I'll explain why I'm using braced in the build that I've gone for, which is a pretty typical build. There's nothing sort of fancy in here. And then we'll load into a mission and I'll show you how I play it and why I still think that when built correctly, a Chameleon build is absolute top tier for damage. What I'm going to try and do is just auto matchmake into a heroic mission. Hopefully from the start we'll complete the entire mission, then we'll see how the damage compares to other people in the lobby and just see where it kind of fits. So the Chameleon Exotic Rifle. Now this is a 900 RPM rifle, and to compare it to other similar ones, you've got the FAMAS, which is also 900, and the Police M4, that is 850 I believe. Now the problem with the Chameleon is without its buffs it is a little bit lackluster. Let me show you exactly what I mean. So this is a FAMAS here. This is a pretty well rolled FAMAS, don't get me wrong. I think the other one was 15 as well, wasn't it? So let's compare these two. Yeah, there we go. So this is two 900 RPM ARs. So this is always a good way to judge if your weapon is a good choice compared to others in its archetype. A lot of people focus specifically on the total damage, but I don't think this is worded very well, because that is damage per bullet. So if you look at the FAMAS, it's already doing 9k more per bullet. And you're firing 900 bullets per minute, which is ridiculous. That's a crazy amount of bullets. So that's a significant damage loss. Considering these are both on the same build and both at 15%. And that was a big concern. And, for example, this particular FAMAS here has in sync, which is a 30% flat buff. So I do understand why people don't like to use Chameleon, because it does, when you first pull it out and start using it in a mission, it does feel pretty weak. And 900 RPM ARs do blow through that ammo very quickly. So this is why I like to use gunner on mine. I've actually got a sharpshooter in here because I forgot to swap it, but I will do that in a second. Where it shines though is where you get the adaptive instincts buff active. So there are 3 ways to proc 3 different buffs on this gun. Let's read through this. Hitting 30 headshots grants 20% critical hit chance and 50% critical hit damage for 45 seconds. Now that is phenomenal. 30 headshots actually isn't that difficult to hit at all. Hitting 75 body shots grants 90% weapon damage for 45 seconds. And then the worst of the 3 that you definitely don't ever want to go for is hitting 30 leg shots grants 150 reload speed. Even without handling on this build, it still reloads very quickly. Just, it's about the same as the FAMAS, so I wouldn't worry about that one. Buffs refresh when out of combat. So this is really nice. You could actually, before, the weapon damage on this was like 65% or 70%. It was still pretty high, but it obviously wasn't as high as the 90%. They did nerf how many body shots were needed. I think that also dropped down to like 60 or 65, and they put it up to 75 because it was a little bit too powerful at one point. And then I think since that nerf, where it takes more body shots, I just don't see it used anymore. When you are out of combat, the buffs remain active at their current time. I don't think it resets the time or anything, although we'll have to test that in a mission. So it's really nice. If you just manage to get the 75 headshots and then you kill the last enemy before, that will be it. You'd just be wasting your time. But now when you come out of combat, so your armor bar goes back to the thin one again, it just keeps it at its exact place, which is amazing because you go into the next fight with the full stacks ready to go. So it definitely has some interesting sort of features to it. The build that I've put together is based entirely around brace, because if you have a look at the handling of this weapon, let's try and do it from maybe 15 meters. Stick it on a boss. So what I always look at for my ARs, as a lot of you know, I do a lot of testing, and for me recoil and bloom are very, very important factors into whether I'll use an AR. They are my main weapon in conflict, and I like to think I do relatively well with them, but that is because I like to put in the time to see which ones feel nicer to fire and have reasonable damage. So if you look at the bloom, so again this is the white dot in the centre, and it will spread out as we're firing. Now that to me is awful. Yes, it has very high stability, so the recoil doesn't kick up, but the accuracy on this weapon is actually really low. I mean, look at the range on the gap in those bullets. If you imagine that being on a ranged enemy, it just doesn't feel that nice. Like you would not be able to go for headshots on this boss. There's so many red numbers appear here. Just trying to sort of keep it in there. It just doesn't feel nice, and look at all of the spread around on this target, and this is only from 50 meters. That's not even that far, you know, in a conflict game or in a mission. That's not that far at all. That's about the distance you should be firing an AR at, 15 to 25 meters. But for me, I feel like it's an SMG. I feel like it excels better in the 5 to 10 meters. So initially I looked at Intimidate, Adrenaline Rush, and that was kind of okay, but you're better off if you're running missions just doing an SMG for that. You know, the Chameleon does work well. The buffs are on the side of the gun there, so you see you've got the headshot, body shot, and leg shot as the top, middle, and bottom one. And when they're orange, it means you're stacking up you're building up the stacks. Sorry, and when they turn white, it means the stacks are actually active. If you go into cover, and you'll see the brace symbol there, the little bold eagle symbol in the middle of those three buffs is active, it just becomes so much better to use, and headshots become a lot more viable. So this is why I like brace for this weapon. Now it still has a bit of kick, don't get me wrong, so if you do the same test without moving the cursor, the crosshair, sorry. So you see with brace, it's definitely a lot more usable. And that's kind of why I thought this is a good option for this weapon, because it's what I say with all guns. If you're missing a lot of your bullets, it doesn't make a difference how high the damage is. I know a lot of people get really suckered into this number just here, and if it's the total damage on the right there, the 85, and if it's a really high number, the automatic assumption is it's a better weapon, but you have to factor in the RPM. Maybe more importantly than that, you have to factor in the weapon handling. If you're not hitting your shots, if the gun only has a low mag and you're reloading all of the time, and there's so much of the time that your bullets aren't landing because of accuracy of the weapon, or because you're reloading, or because it sucks at range, then that high damage counts for nothing. It just counts for nothing. So that's why I feel that buffing weapon handling for low handling weapons is a really good idea. There's nothing special about this build at all. I've just literally stuck with a lot of the same stuff that I always run, so I'm not going to go too much into the build today. This is more a review of the Chameleon, but just to clarify, I'm running Contractors for the damage to armour, Foxes for the damage to targets out of cover. It was originally 3-piece Walkers, but the Gruppo was a better roll. 1-piece Gruppo is 15% critical hit damage, and the 3rd piece of Providence is the same, so it's literally 3-piece in that sense. And then of course Fenris, all crit chance, all crit damage. Because the weapon already comes with crit chance built in, you can actually afford to lose a couple of crit chance options on here. You know, if you go into my stats, we're already at 60%. And then 151 crit damage with relatively low headshot damage. So, you know, the stats aren't too bad on it, but let's load into a mission and see how it actually plays. Because, yeah, I do feel this is, for close range battles, this is one of the best ARs in the game, particularly since they buffed it. Random aim mission, heroic. And you know, when I run it, I'm really happy with it. Did we select that invite? Yes, we did. Oh, I'm ready to the Pentagon. Yeah, so I was really happy with it. I got some really nice runs on it, but that's because I was very much close range. We had a healer, so I didn't have to worry about my health. I was just running it with the shields to get up close. And, you know, I had a really good game with it. I didn't run glass cannon or anything like that because I'm not a fan of that perk anymore. We are starting a little bit late into the mission, but that's not a problem.
Just get it done.
You see the stacks already starting to build up here.
Expect heavy resistance on your way to the drill.
No, I probably should have changed to Gunner really, actually, because I do like the extra 10% handling. And Gunner's a really strong perk, excuse me, a really strong specialisation if you're going to run 900 RPM, so or sort of like high rate of fire. I always feel that the low rate of fire ones are better for PvE because they hit really hard per bullet. It's usually easy to land your shots on them because they typically have better handling stats than the faster rate of fire ones. And the ammo conservation is a lot better. With 900s, you just blow through your ammo super quick. Now obviously you pick up ammo all the time, but I just think Gunner is a stronger option. You get the 10% health, excuse me, 10% armor per kill, which is pretty easy with this build. And you get the extra handling as well, so it improves your reload speed. So, you know, I would not be landing shots on that guy if I wasn't using Brace right now, or at least the high handling build. We're going to use this dude to buff our... we're very close to getting into that 10% now. Sorry, 10%, the 90% even. So you see it's glowing white now. This now means that I'm doing 90% more damage, and that's where this weapon absolutely excels. And it does just chunk through everything. And we are a little bit at our range cap here. So the weapon kind of starts to lose damage at about 35 meters. So that's another thing you have to bear in mind. It is 100% a close range AR. Let's try and get some close range kills now, actually. So this sort of range, you don't have buffs, when you don't have brace, the brace buff active, it still slaps. It does, you know, exactly the same damage. And that's when I thought maybe Obliterate could be good, or... You know, there was a few talents, even Spotter potentially, just run the drone, the Spotter drone, just to get all the extra damage. But ultimately, I wanted to build the stacks as reliably as possible, so I considered things like Strikers. The problem with Strikers is you lose a lot of crit hit damage and chance, and my overall damage wasn't impressive, so I just thought Brace was the best option. If I can reliably land body and headshots, I'm going to build those stacks faster, I'm going to be in the buff for longer, and therefore the weapon will do more damage. So that was kind of my thinking with Braced. The same request that I always have, I'm curious to know who is running this as a main, and if so, how do you feel that, what do you think is the best way to run the build? You know, how is it that you would run it? Do you think Brace is a good choice for their handling, or should I really just be going with a shield, glass cannon, and getting in their face and just mowing them down as quickly as possible where the handling doesn't make a difference? Oh, that actually counts as body shots, it's hilarious. We're hitting like 500k per shot there when it's all buffed up. Let's get some headshots in it, shall we?
Eliminate these assholes. Redirect all available units to intercept.
If you excuse my accent, it's a little bit off today. I've been playing some other games. So yeah, I feel a little bit weird playing this game all of a sudden.
Agent down.
Ow! Shoot him, buddy. So yeah, I mean, I like the Chameleon. I've always liked it ever since they buffed it, and I know it got a nerf after the buff, which I think is kind of when a lot of people stopped playing it. But I actually really like it. The headshot. So we'll go for body shots now. Thank you for blinding him. And I shot his backpack, which killed me. And I think that's the best way to play it. You want to go for your body shots first, and then your headshots, or definitely one and then the other. So if you notice that one of the top two boxes is white, you want to focus on the opposite one, because a great place to be is to get that 50% critical hit damage buff and the weapon damage buff at exactly the same time. So whilst it's a little bit clunky to do so, just keep an eye on the right hand side of the gun. And like I said, when you notice that one of the shapes, what's the six-sided shape called again? Why can't I think of what that's called? That's really going to bug me now. Not a pentagon, because that's 5. Can somebody just confirm what a six-sided shape is called? Because I've gone totally blank. But anyway, when one of those shapes fills up white, just focus on the other one. Just ignore the bottom one entirely, because honestly, it's not worth it. Oh my god, what is my accuracy? Ooh, this is terrible. Playing a little bit of Destiny 2 lately, trying out some of the old Crucible and enjoying the Gnaw and Hunger and so on. I'm probably going to upload some footage of that for you guys, actually. I'm kind of curious to see if there is some interest in other games on this channel. Now don't get wrong, this is predominantly a Division channel, but I understand that the game population is a little bit low at the moment, at least until TU11 comes out, so I have been branching out into other games, but yeah, 100% this is still going to be a build channel. I'll still be reviewing exotic weapon, should I say. There's no such thing as a heroic weapon. And just builds in general. You know, most of my content is PvP. But at the same time, I might start bringing some other games to you guys. If you do have any preferences, the reason I sort of started looking at Destiny 2 is it was my main game before Division. I only actually started playing Division 2 seriously since TU8. So before then, I was playing Destiny 1 and 2, and I've got about 4,000 hours between the two games over the last, since they've been out. So what's that, like 5 years or 6 years or something? I noticed that a lot of people that played Division play Destiny. A lot of my friends that were playing the Division before they got bored of it are now playing Destiny, so I'm kind of feeling that that might be the case for potentially a lot of you guys. That could be a good second game for you all. But if you do have a preference on what you see on the channel, if you want to give me some ideas on which direction you want the channel to head in, then let me know and I'll start factoring that in.
Lock everything down.
So look, this is what I'm talking about with that gun. I look at my ammo, 23 and 0. The good news is that now that we are out of combat, that white field up there, oh, it does refresh, it goes back to full. Okay, excellent. That's really good. So now that's not going down that timer. So you see the white center, that's the 90% for 45 seconds. Only now will that start to go down that I'm in combat. See, it's now starting to deplete from the left to the right. Okay, that's a really nice feature, that is. So I'm glad that they added that in. Where are... I need some ammo. Where's the ammo crate in this mission? Oh, this is not good news. I have no ammo. Yes, here we go. 200 bullets. That'll do, that'll do. So yeah, what I would instinctively do now is go for headshots, because I know that I've got the damage buff active. And I think that's really the only way to play it. It's just... for me, I had to find a build that allowed me to reliably hit body shots and headshots, and you know, I think for me, Brace was just like kind of like I suppose in a way the easy way out, because you don't have to do anything in particular. You run your normal build, you know, your 3 Providence and your Fox's Prayer. You stick a Fenris in there, and then all you've really got to do is just stick Brace on there. You know, backpack talents I've gone for Vigilance because I'm in cover anyway, so there's less likely that I'm going to be taking too many hits and hopefully keeping it as active as possible. But yeah, it definitely feels good with Braced, I've got to be honest, really good. I'm going to use the decoy because that means my Vigilance will stay active for longer. This is nice, we still have that damage buff active. Wow, it chews. I know that guy was shooting him as well, but...
They're going for the servers! Copy. 1-6 in position.
Now this is a really long mission, so I'm actually not going to stay through to the end and check the damage stats, because I joined late anyway, so I don't think it'll be a true reflection, but you know, you guys have had a good chance to see what kind of damage it can output there and how fast it can melt down. So we'll probably sort of call the video quits now, but yeah, that's what I'm most curious to hear. 2 things. One, I want to know the sort of direction you want me to take the channel in, because I probably will start factoring in other games, maybe once a week or so. We'll still predominantly be a Division-based channel. And 2, I want to know how other people run this build. Do you mostly use it for PvP? I tried it there, and I just feel that when you die, you lose all of your stacks. So unless you're running on a tank build, I didn't feel that it was viable, but that might just be me. You know, it wasn't reliable enough damage for me to main it in PvP, in Conflict or Dark Zone. But if any of you have any builds that you think work really well with this, just let me know in the comments, and I'll sort of make some changes if I feel that your build is better, and yeah, I'll go from there. One final thing with the Chameleon before we call this video to an end is, I didn't know this until quite recently, but the colour of the weapon changes based on the floor that you are stood on. I mean, I guess it makes sense being called a Chameleon, but it's got that adaptive pattern on it, so you see that it's white at the moment. I literally learnt this the other day. If you change the floor that you stand on, it changes the colour of the weapon. So even on this blue floor, it's now yellow for some reason. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Let's try it somewhere else. Back over here, maybe. Okay, now it's gone to white because we're on a white floor. So there you go. You can see that's a different colour. Don't know if it works on top of these counters. Let's try that as well. Kind of half yellow, half white. I tell you. I didn't say it was very good, but it definitely does do it, so there we go. Thank you very much if you did watch to the end. I'm really looking forward to hearing your comments on how you think Chameleon should be played, and if you think any potential buffs are needed for it. But until then, I will see you all in the next video. Peace!